Sonic and the Black Knight is one of those games that was slammed at release, mainly by critics who never forgot the year that rhymes with 2000 and Bix, who complained about the waggle, but honestly, is it that bad? Well, let's jump in. The game starts very moodily. This intro is honestly right up there with the Unleashed one for me. It nails the character of Sonic, as we'll get on to. Anyway, there's a girl who's running from these nightmare creatures. That's a Secret Rings line! Showing the connection as the storybook series. Can you really call it a series if it only has 2 games? Anyway, a literal space portal opens and Sonic experiences yet another concussion, as he does with a surprisingly large number of games. Neat, as well, this is the first time we see the chili dogs in-game.
Hey, where am I?
The girl comes over to Sonic and tells him that she's the one that called him there. And this moment right there is when you know both the characters and the story are going to be on point throughout. Have a look.
Get it? No problem. I'm used to stuff like this.
That, right there, is Sonic. Are you listening, Pontac and Graf? Who cares? They're gone now. Finally. The girl teleports herself and Sonic away to safety, which makes me wonder why she didn't do that to start with instead of running away, but there you go. King Arthur then rides his, for some reason, flying horse over to Blaze, Shadow and Knuckles. I'm sorry, I mean Percival, Lancelot and Gwaine. I don't think it's ever explained why his horse can fly, and I'm pretty sure it's the only cutscene it does this, but oh well. And let me just say, this game is when all the actors were at their absolute peak.
Let's go.
Must we? She is the royal wizard, after all.
The king's orders are absolute,
Yes,
Gwaine.
but
Without loyalty to the king, we are nothing. Still, the king, he has changed. And this kingdom.
I also noticed that Gwaine's foot clipped through the floor, and now, like me, you would never be able to unsee that. Anyway, we get onto the story, good and proper, and we get ourselves some delicious exposition.
Why'd you stop me? I could have taken him down, no problem.
You do not understand. He cannot be wounded.
How can that be?
He bears the scabbard of Excalibur.
Hey, wait a second. I think I've heard that name before. Let me see.
Excalibur is King Arthur's sword.
Oh, yeah, right! So that means...
This is the land ruled by King Arthur.
Whoa! But was that really the king himself? I mean, he seemed way different in the stories.
Let us go. We can talk along the way. Let me introduce myself. I am Merlina the Wizard.
I'm Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog.
And then we're thrown right into the tutorial stage, but before that I wanted to talk about the cutscenes. Rather than them all being in-game, They're this cool storybook style, hence the name Storybook Series, and that both of the games revolve around Sonic being thrown into a storybook world. Unlike Secret Rings cutscenes, which are more of a comic book style, these are animated and look like a book actually come to life, and I really like them. They fit really well with the tone, and they're animated just enough to keep my interest throughout. Honestly, I prefer it to something like Colors of Lost World, where the cutscenes are fairly janky. It makes the overall presentation of Black Knight be unique and arguably better. Alright, we're thrown into a set of tutorial stages which do a good job of explaining everything you can do at the start. They teach you how to block, attack, move, how harming civilians lowers your score, how combos are carried, and they improve the score, not even to mention the music. This is what I'll be gushing about through most of the review. Listen to the OST, okay?
I want you to learn swordsmanship, starting from the basics.
Swords, eh? Well, if that's how you guys roll around here, why not? Lay it out.
Swing away.
By the way, this noise, and well, this music gives me massive nostalgia overload. Even if you never played it, I mean, listen to this and tell me it doesn't at least sound a little bit nostalgic.
That was tight!
So we get to another cutscene, and in this one, Merlina tells Sonic that it was the Lady of the Lake that gave King Arthur the scabbard of Excalibur, and that's what made him immortal, and how the sacred sword Caliburn is the only thing that can stop him. Caliburn resides at Misty Lake. So, off they go. At the end of the next stage, again another tutorial style stage, is something that legitimately scared me into not playing the game for ages, and I got somebody else to do this bit for me when I was younger.
Very well. Why don't I prepare something a little more challenging? Behold, the ruler of this lake, the Mist Dragon.
Yeah, looking back on it, it really isn't that bad. You chop off his horn, and bosh, the stage is done. Upon the level complete, you are informed you have reached the Misty Lake, where the sword resides, and Sonic straight up agrees to murder somebody.
Ready for what?
If you remove that sword and defeat King Arthur with it, you shall forever be the worst of knights, slayer of kings.
Guess I can't be the hero every time.
What a legend, honestly. When I said it nails the characters, I mean it. He stays to his core beliefs no matter what. Anyway, the sword's alive. I'm not really sure why, but at least there's some good banter between them, so I'm cool with it. Also, if you murder civilians, he shouts at you.
You are the chosen one. You are but a squire.
Oh yeah? Says you.
The sword has a mind of its own. It selects its bearer.
Yeah, well, it's got a pretty smart mouth on it for a sword.
The impertinent one is you, knave. Brace yourself, for I shall train you until you are worthy.
All right, Professor. Work your magic.
So, King Arthur shows up and it's time for the final showdown, an intense battle. The end of the game is here and... oh. He's dead. Sonic is told he will need the other 3 sacred swords held by the Knights of the Round Table in order for Caliburn to be able to finish the job, and hence our story begins good and proper. But right before we move on, I wanted to talk about the music again. This boss fight uses an instrumental Fight the Night and sounds amazing.
After him. Remain calm. Swing your sword any time your opponent's attack. Jump!
You'll never get away! Pursue me at your own peril, weakling.
To make it even better, the final showdown with him has the lyric version, which just ties the story together so nicely. I'm getting ahead of myself now. Melina sees a dead flower and gets all existential. I sure don't think this is foreshadowing in any way. Anyway, Sonic and Caliburn leave her and first travel to Camelot Castle in order to find a blacksmith to make Caliburn be as good as new. And yet again, the music is perfect.
All right, time to find a blacksmith.
Something is wrong here. Better be careful. Everyone's acting strange. Let us survey the area.
This is the first real stage that isn't really a tutorial, and it introduces you to a few new things, like trading with the villagers, give you an item that you can unlock at the end of the stage, as well as rewarding you with some score, helping you to achieve a better rank. However, it does have to be said that these are a bit of a pace breaker, and unless it's mandatory, I usually find myself running right past them. You reach the blacksmith and, oh look, it's definitely not Tails. Anyway, he says you can fix up Caliburn to help you on the journey ahead. After that, we're introduced to the Soul Gauge. It's a bar that fills up at the bottom corner of the screen when you kill enemies, or pick up red fairies. Later, you can get an upgrade that allows it to be filled just by you moving, which is great for later boss fights. The tutorial here is okay, nothing mind-blowing, but it teaches you the action in a non-irritating way, which is better than the vast majority of how video games do their tutorials. The next area that opens up is the Deep Woods. The stage opens with this on-rails bit. Well, not on rails, but like this you know what I mean. It's okay, I guess. The music is great, and the horse straight up dies. I forgot to mention it, but you're on the way to the Lady of the Lake to find out more about the Sacred Swords. The Deep Woods is actually a pretty good level. Nice environment, good music, the level design is, as the majority of the levels in this game are, essentially straight lines with different obstacles or platforming elements, but more often than not they do a pretty good job of making them feel engaging, and that's true of this stage as well. On your way to find the Lady of the Lake, you come across Lancelot, who dies in about 3 seconds. You take a sword and reach the Lady of the Lake. She gives you some information.
I've been waiting for you, knight from another world.
Whoa!
Fool, where are you going?
But that's...
You are being rude to the Lady of the Lake. Bow your head.
I think I know why you're here. It's about Excalibur, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. You don't waste any time, lady.
Show some respect.
I'll tell you how to hinder the scabbard's power of immortality. I'm the one who gave it to him, so it's kind of my fault, see? But still...
Still what?
Whoever defeats King Arthur and takes his scabbard might end up turning out the same way, right?
I see.
So, I have 3 tests for you. Would you like to hear them?
Sure, fire away.
First, free the innocents from King Arthur's dungeon. Second, offer compassion to those in need. Third, defeat King Arthur's Knights of the Underworld. You have 3 days. Good luck!
Oh yeah, the Lady of the Lake is Amy, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Anyway, after doing a few throwaway missions like giving X number of rings to townsfolk, Sonic and Caliburn come across a child that is definitely 100% not the Lady of the Lake.
What's the matter? Are you lost or something?
A great big dragon attacked my village!
A dragon?
It took my mommy, and my daddy, and everybody away.
You know where the dragon is, kid?
It's in the big cave, at the bottom of that mountain.
All right, I'm on it.
Wait, don't tell me you're going off to slay a dragon now.
Yes, we are.
What of the ladies' tests? You will never make it in time.
Yeah, maybe, but I play by my own rules. Remember that.
You fool.
Hang in there, kiddo. I'll get your folks back.
The next stage is Titanic Plain, and again the music here is actually popping off. Sonic even sees me.
Now that's one big burly beast.
And so does Caliburn.
Don't be afraid of their speed.
Anyway, this level has some cool things like grinding over massive spears that are in the ground, but again it's another level that's fine, it's perfectly serviceable. Nothing special, but fun and engaging. And at the end of the day, that's all a game needs to be. Next you come across Gawain, the second of the 3 Knights of the Round Table, who goes down about as easily as the first, and...
To lose to a mere apprentice! I have been disgraced! Only death can remove this stain upon my honor!
Give me a break! What's up with all this drama?
Oh. Well. Moving on, you take the second sword and continue with your journey onwards to find the dragon that the definitely not Lady of the Lake, and definitely a child, told you was there. It eventually leads you to Crystal Cave, and guess what? The music here is stellar once again. This is probably actually one of my favourite stages in the game. The music is peak. There's actually a few multiple paths and a bit of challenge to keep you engaged and rewarding good players. I think this is actually the longest stage so far, as well as maybe in the whole game. It has a nice bit of variation too, coming into and out of the caves. Then you do a pretty mid stage, to be honest with you, where you have to move the Wii Remote so Caliburn reflects lights onto crystals to break them open and free people that are trapped inside. It doesn't really work. This is where pretty much all of my issues with control reside from. I don't really have the waggle issue that people complain about. I'll get onto that later. Off you go, through the Molten Mine, with once again the music being beautiful. This stage is a tad annoying with the sidestep sections, but overall it's a pretty good stage with alright design, spectacle, music, visuals. Just to mention, the second set of sidestepping sections you can actually jump dash over, which makes the level a lot more bearable for me. You might be able to do it on the first, I'm not quite sure. Then, you come across Percival. Similarly to before, not really much of a challenging boss fight, but probably the hardest of the Knights of the Round Table. So, off you go to fight King Arthur, save the kingdom, and finish the game. And before, it's honestly one of my favourite cutscenes in the game. And of other Sonic games, other games in general, this cutscene is great. The dialogue here and the music is perfect.
I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, Knight of the Wind. Let's settle this once and for all, King Arthur.
It seems your impersonation of a knight has improved somewhat.
I have you to thank for that.
Then let us have another look at that unsightly swordsmanship.
You're gonna be sorry you asked. This is it, old pal.
Indeed. Give it everything you have. Only then will you prevail.
Then bring it on, King Arthur!
The King Arthur boss, much like the others, isn't really challenging, but I do see a surprising amount of people struggling with it. I remember struggling with it a lot when I was younger, but it can be beaten in literally under 20 seconds if you know what you're doing. As I mentioned, the music that accompanies this boss fight is Fight the Night, the lyric version, and just...
Escape. Who said anything about escaping?
Bold frontal attack. You can avoid it with a level-headed response.
How can this be?
So, he's dead. And the credits roll. You're done. Or are you?
I can erase my grandfather's greatest mistake. shall make this kingdom eternal.
Sonic, get back!
That might be the rawest thing ever put into a game. Ever. The final few levels are essentially harder, almost mutated versions of the stages you've played previously. They're a race against the clock. They're not really super hard. I'm not going to go super in depth with them, as I've said, they're essentially harder versions of previous stages. But one of them ends with another Dragon Boss, a harder Dragon Boss fight, which actually ties to the start of the game really nicely and shows how far both you and the characters have come. At the end of each stage, the character... I forgot to mention, you can play as the other knights now. I don't really like them. Pretty much all of them have to stop when they attack, which slows down the flow and makes the pacing feel off. So even though it doesn't really make story sense, I usually play as Sonic for these stages, just as it's more fun. What was I saying? Oh yeah, each character puts down their swords to make essentially a giant version of the triangle of swords Sonic encompassed around King Arthur that allowed him to kill him, and they're gonna do the same to Mileena. Anyway, the following cutscene, Sonic confronts Mileena, and I'm just going to play the full thing out, as it's really the best way for you to get an understanding. But it takes itself seriously, has mature themes like inevitability of death, sets up stakes, and does all of this while nailing the characters set up once again.
I've been expecting you.
Just one question before we settle this. Why'd you do it? Weren't we trying to save this kingdom from the underworld?
This kingdom will fail one way or another. Such is its fate.
Huh?
Do you know what is to become of this kingdom?
Beats me.
Lancelot and Gawain's rift shall doom the Round Table. Arthur is struck down by his son Mordred and departs for Avalon. This was to be our ideal world, but it will not last. King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table will end in ruin. The King Arthur my grandfather Merlin created led to nothing but mistakes. But I can succeed with the power of the scabbard, creating a kingdom that never ends.
What good is a world that goes on forever?
My sorrow at its ruin runs deeper than the depths of the underworld. Do you not understand?
No, and I don't want to.
Your efforts are futile.
No way.
Sonic!
Caliburn!
You fool! Knight must always be on his guard!
It is time to end this.
Sir Sonic, you've done enough!
No, Sonic! There is no point in continuing! A knight never flees his foe, right? Ah!
You fool! This no longer has anything to do with chivalry! Get out of there! Run!
It was never about chivalry for me. I just gotta do what I've gotta do. That's all. Sonic!
The long-lost light of the sacred sword! Quick, your swords! That's the greatest of the sacred swords! Excalibur!
Ha! Let's do this!
After another of the rawest things ever made has been shown, you get a boss fight with, yep, fantastic music. It's not really that hard, it's essentially a better version of the Secret Rings final boss where you become Darkspine. Sonic gives a sick roast,
Goodness, a world that goes on forever! That sounds pretty lame.
and murders her.
But
But it's okay, she's actually alive. Yay! And again, I'm just going to play this final scene. This is the last time I feel Sonic had a good character at all, and the series took itself even slightly seriously. To age this video, tomorrow is a month until Sonic Frontiers. It's a month until Sonic Frontiers comes out, and I'm hoping with Pontac and Graf gone, the stories will improve.
Merlina, every world has its end. I know that's kind of sad, but that's why we gotta live life to the fullest in the time we have. At least, that's what I figure.
Grandfather.
Well done, Sir Sonic.
Thanks to you guys.
You can say that again.
To think King Arthur was but an illusion.
The Knights of the Round Table must now disband.
What foolishness is this?
I'll say...
What are you saying then?
Have you forgotten who I am? I am the sacred sword Caliburn. I am the one who decides who is worthy of the crown.
So then... You? You are the one and true King Arthur?
Me? Huh? Hey, cut that out!
Anyway, I quickly want to talk about the Waggle situation. Over to me, but real.
Hello, it's me, but real this time. I've actually got Sonic and the Black Knight just behind me. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Waggle. Excuse the mess, excuse all the dogs. There's dogs, you know what they're like. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about the Waggle situation, how I don't really think it's that bad, and how I'm gonna do that is the prime example people use. which is the... where is it? Here. It's the King Arthur boss fight. Now, you won't be able to see this. I apologise. But I'm just going to jump in this. There's definitely a bit at the end where you're attacking him, but that's not really that bad. People mainly complain about it for the other bit, and I'm just going to show you, ow, how it's really not that bad at all. Alright, so here we are, we're in the boss fight now. Knight of the Wind. So I'm dodging his lasers right now. Again, no waggle, I haven't done anything. Alright, so I'm going to have to hit his balls back. We're hitting back a few times. We can jump up, getting close, and it's just... and then you just do this. This is the most it gets. Would you really call that waggle? I mean, people didn't play the game because of that. Like... and then in normal fights, you just do that. That's the most you'll do. In like just regular levels. And then we can actually get in close again. See if we can finish him off. And not mess up. I messed up! No! Hold on, I'm getting close. There we go. Alright, we still have enough soul gauge. I messed up again. Bruh. Alright. We'll try again. If I die, it's going to be really embarrassing. There we go. Get him. Bosh. And he's dead. Just like that. And that's your boss fight. You know, it's really not a big deal. It's fine. The waggle situation doesn't really exist. Anyway, back to me in voiceover, who's going to end this now.
So just to round it off, would I recommend this game? Yes. Yes, I would. Buy it. Play it. Watch it. Just have more of this game in your life. It's not... that's a dog. It's not the best Sonic game ever made, but it's not trying to be. It's a short and sweet experience. And to be honest... I love it. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's what happened. To think I was called in to be part of the tale of King Arthur. But I gotta tell you, it was no picnic.
Aren't you forgetting something?
What? All the action? All the excitement down to the wire? But man, would have thought I was the real King Arthur. Huh.
That's the lamest excuse ever! You just forgot about our date!
No, it's true, I tell ya! Yikes! No! Amy, wait!